Hey guys, it is the Blonde Broker here at Bitcoin Nashville 2024, and I am joined by the CEO and founder of Barefoot Mining. Bob, how are you today?
Great, nice to see you, Aaron.
Is this your first Bitcoin conference?
No, I think this is my fourth put by these guys, but probably my 50th overall, so I'm an old veteran.
Can you tell us a little bit about Barefoot Mining?
Yes, it might help to understand a little about mining first. So mining comes in all different shapes and sizes, and I like to categorize them in three sizes, rabbits and horses and elephants. And so the elephants are really big facilities. There are several of them scattered throughout the world, and I like to say they're big and powerful, but they're also somewhat immobile, meaning they're fixed facilities. And the rabbits are the individual people out there mining in a garage or a shed or something like that. And the horses fit in the middle. They're small to medium-sized commercial sites that pop up probably in places you don't even know they're there. And that's what my company specializes in, is these small ones. So our objective is to have a lot of mining, but in a lot of small places that people don't even know it's happening.
Can you tell us what one of those places would look like specifically?
Well, we typically use huts. So some of them are old shipping containers that have been converted. Some of them are almost would look like a shed, that maybe a 10-foot by 10-foot shed. It would have a few fans, but if you weren't paying attention, you wouldn't know it was there. They might be in an industrial park. For instance, we have a couple of these that sit on the backside of a burrito factory in South Dakota. And you wouldn't know they were there unless you were really an expert knowing what to look for.
So I wouldn't be a horse, but I could become a rabbit if I wanted to buy a miner for myself.
Yes. And all those things are important because mining, it's very important that mining be done in all shapes and sizes all over the world, because mining is the heartbeat of Bitcoin. And if we want Bitcoin to have a lot of its key attributes like self-custody and censorship-free, the only way to do that is to not have just one person or a couple companies do the mining. And so that's partly why I do what I do to make money, but I also do it because I believe really strongly in what Bitcoin is about, and I think by building this part of the infrastructure, I'm kind of doing my part to fight that.
That was my next question. Is what is the mission statement, right, behind Barefoot Mining?
Yeah. Well, the first thing we do is, we say we do everything within the ethos of Bitcoin. So it's, how a doctor takes a Hippocratic oath? Our oath is similar to Bitcoin, do no harm to Bitcoin. And I know that may sound funny, but as a company, you can make decisions that might make you more money in the short term, but do something that weakens the infrastructure of the system. So that's our mission is the opposite, right? Our mission is to make Bitcoin stronger, and the belief that by making Bitcoin stronger, we will prosper.
And how many people are on your team doing this?
We have 8 people.
Awesome. And are y'all all local, or is everyone all over?
Most of the people are based in South Dakota. I'm in Florida. Nice. We have a facility in South Carolina as well, which actually that's a little interesting story, if you don't mind me saying. So what we did is one of the things we believe in is as much as possible creating our own power. So that creates an independence for the company. So what we did was about 3 years ago, we found an old textile mill in South Carolina. The textile mill had been closed for 20 years, but it sat on the banks of a river called the Enoree River in South Carolina. And it had been built in 1888, and it used to produce its own power to run looms to weave fabric. Well, that business, it went out of business and it kind of deteriorated, but we found it, and
we bought it?
We bought all the rights to the facility. We bought the water rights. We rebuilt the whole hydroelectric infrastructure, and now we produce our own energy and mine Bitcoin with all that energy.
I want to come see it.
Yeah, it's a wonderful experience. Yeah,
That would be really cool.
yeah, it's very different. There aren't a lot of places like that in the world.
No, that would actually be amazing to get a video and walk around like a tour.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, okay, what do you think about this conference? What do you think about the people that we have attending the conference in particular? Like we all see that we've got, I believe, Trump coming today. We think the market is waiting to see what's going to happen. Bitcoin's been pumping this morning. Do you have any opinions?
I think what we're seeing is the acceptance of the world, and especially the political structure of the world, that they have to acquiesce. And they can't fight it anymore. And we've seen a massive pivot over the last year, and this is I think representative of that. More so than anything else. You know, I was there. Like you asked if I had been at other conferences. I was in Miami in 2021 when President Bukele from El Salvador announced that Bitcoin would become legal tender, and that was a seminal moment, like a big pivot point in Bitcoin's history. I think today is kind of the next step in that process.
I remember, I think that same year, I went to the Bahamas, and the taxis were the first transportation system to actually take Bitcoin as payment to. And I thought that moment was really huge. And then now we have Bitcoin ETFs, so Bitcoin's more accessible to the public.
Right.
When you guys talk about success in Bitcoin terms, I know you've mentioned that before. What does that look like?
Well, I think there's a couple vectors. The obvious one is financially, and we measure our business in Bitcoin terms. So we're forced to, for tax reasons, we have to report on a dollar basis, but we actually measure ourselves based by how much Bitcoin we're producing. And that is what a Bitcoin mining company does is at the end of the day, from a revenue perspective, we produce Bitcoin. And so how well are we doing? Are we gaining Bitcoin for us and our investors, our shareholders? If they've invested X amount of money into us, they usually measure it in Bitcoin terms. So if we have an investor, for instance, that invests 2 Bitcoin with us, our objective is to make sure that person gets way more than 2 Bitcoin back over some period of time. But it also goes back to what I said before to a certain degree, what we're doing strengthening Bitcoin. And there are a lot of things that might sound kind of funny maybe to those who aren't as intimate with mining, but there are a lot of things that happen at a technical level within mining. For instance, what pool does a mining company use? And what happens is today there are roughly 6 million servers spread out over the world that create the Bitcoin network.
I don't know that.
Yeah, so it's a big number, right? Consuming, by the way, about 160 terawatt hours of energy annually. So that's big. So about 1/2 of the world's energy
Is for Bitcoin.
is of electricity.
Electricity, okay.
Electricity is for mining. But that each of those 6 million computers has an issue, and that's that each year in Bitcoin only 53,000 blocks are mined. So miners only get paid when a block gets mined. So all 6 million computers can't mine a block in a year. And if you don't mine a block, you don't get paid. So what we do is we work in, you could think of it as collectives or pools or cooperatives, where we align with each other and different companies essentially pool their servers together and say, regardless of who wins the block, we're going to work together and share based on how much work we put together. But those become danger points to a certain degree, because what a pool does is a pool decides what transactions go into a block.
The mempool.
Well, the mempool might have, like, right now it has roughly 200,000 transactions in it. Those are the ones waiting to get confirmed.
Okay.
Finalized, you could think of it as.
And then the pool is confirmed.
Yeah, but they can only pick about 4,000 in every block.
Interesting. Okay.
And they can pick whatever one they want. So you can see that this is the censorship point, or at least the point where censorship could occur. So if I knew, oh, Aaron, I don't like Aaron, and Aaron's on a block, right? Yeah. So, but if there's only like five or six places in the world where that decision gets made, which is where we are today, honestly, then that's a fear, right? Because if but if we have hundreds or thousands of points where that decision gets made, so I don't want to bore people with this, but we're working really hard to create a new method. There's a different company I work with called Ocean, for instance, to create 1,000 different points where those decisions get made about what product goes into a block to really fight censorship.
Does that also prevent network congestion, like within the blocks?
No, not really. The network works on a constant heartbeat regardless. It really can't get congested. But if demand goes up, the mempool can get bigger and bigger and bigger. We can't change that blocks come about every 10 minutes and then about 4,000 transactions go in every block. So as demand goes up, there will be more pressure to get in there, and fees are going to go up. It's just,
You also mentioned your partnership with Ocean. Do you have more partnerships that you want to share, any upcoming that you can?
Well, I'm part of a group called M5ers.
Okay.
And we are designing our own ASIC, so it's our own chip. So today in Bitcoin mining, there really are only 2 large companies that produce all of the servers that I talked about before, and we don't think that's a healthy thing. So we want to have more choices in the market for that. And my background's actually in computer design. I worked for a company called Gateway back in the 90s. So I was the chief technical officer there. So that's actually my real roots are designing computers. So we see this problem in the industry of just not having enough diversity in servers. So we're working to solve that problem. And the other thing I'm probably working on that's notable is this block space thing that we were talking. So the process by which the transactions get included in the block, that block, we call that block space, like how many you can fit in and what the decision process is. What we're working on is a derivatives product, a futures marketplace, where you will be able to essentially book a reservation in blocks in the future. So if we're sitting here in July and you have a business or a personal thing and you know that you're going to need to do a lot of transactions in, let's say, November, you'll be able to buy that access now at a price that and guarantee that that you can get there, and you could actually trade that position as well. So if you didn't need it, or you saw that someone else needed it more, and you could make money flipping your position. So that's called a block space forward derivative that we're working on.
Yeah, I like that. What would you say is the legacy that you want to leave behind with Barefoot Mining?
Wow, that's a great question, because as an older guy, I actually think about this a lot. And the biggest thing I want is my grandkids and their kids. I have 5 grandkids already.
Big family.
Yeah, and I have 6 kids and 5 grandkids now. So I worry about the future of the world. Yeah. And I think that Bitcoin is a chance to fix the world's biggest problem, which is a broken monetary system. So, I hope the legacy is that, especially my grandkids and my great-grandkids, can say, hey, Grandpa worked to make the world a better place. He helped fix the money. That would be enough for me.
I like that. That was a perfect answer. No, well, thank you so much for the interview today.
Yeah,
thank you. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And good luck on your talk today.
Hey, what's up? This is Zach. But it's not something Genzio is afraid of.
If you want to survive, you got to build a hive.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Get back at the Genzio Media House.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining us today.